Where are the people? Scary people? Oh, I can't run very well. What does that button do? It's not responding. No joke. Okay. Oh, is that a save thing? Oh. I guess. Oops, dang it. Yes. Alright, so at least now I'm saved in the house. Okay, scary people. Ugh. 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 Oh, jeez. See, crazy, creepy Texas Chainsaw people. What does this do? Ugh. Puzzle. Okay. Duh. Sounds a little bit like I'm on the potty right now, doesn't it? Do I have to interact more to see scary things? Maybe I do. Okay. Alright. Okay. Ugh. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Yeah, that was... I guess that was gonna bother him. I hear things rattling around. What's the... Oh, I looked at that already. Oof, I don't know what's in there. I don't want to know what's in there. Okay. Jeez Louise. What the crap is that? Ugh, man, I hate flashlights. In games. Oh my gosh. What? Something moved. Good grief. That's not a videotape. Okay. Alright, thanks. Thanks for the tip. Ah! What the crap? Okay, have I interacted enough? Can we get the scares on and get this over with? The crap. Ugh. Jeez. Ugh. It's what they don't show you. It's that the flashlight gives you like this tunnel vision. Ah, that's my shadow. Okay. I don't like turning around. I don't like turning corners. Is that the door unlocking? Ugh. Oh, man. Okay. Alright, I guess I'm going upstairs now. I probably need this videotape. Here we go. Okay. Alright. Alright. Now we know what to do. Check inventory. Yes, I see that I have the thing. Okay, good. Jeez Louise. Oh, I am playing this. Okay.
Give me a break, Pete. Hey, I only work with professionals. Speaking of which, make sure the sound is right this time. I don't want a repeat of Amarillo.
That was 2 fucking years ago.
I don't do ADR. This new guy? I'm not feeling it.
Again?
Just don't be surprised if we have to make a change. New plan. We do a walkthrough of the inside first, then we shoot the intro.
Just like we always do. Just try to say the show's name this time, okay?
No problem. Tonight on Sewer Gators, another worthless fucking shithole. Happy?
Ecstatic.
Yeah, I remember just enough about this that I know it doesn't end well for these guys. Or me as the cameraman.
Rolling?
We're rolling. Which I guess I should have known because the tape was left there.
Get out of the way.
It's locked.
After you.
So, why are we in hell this time? Do you ever prep? What's the prep? Shitty house, spooky sounds? Ooh, is it haunted?
You guys coming?
I was an anchor, you know?
Weekend sub, Pete. Not anchor.
What's that?
Nothing.
What's the story, Andre?
Abandoned farmhouse, missing family, foul play suspected. The usual.
How long do you say this place has been abandoned?
3 years.
Clancy, get a shot of this. Let's make a great cutaway. So, Hillbilly Joe and his family go missing.
Not hillbillies, the Bakers. Jack and Marguerite Baker. And they were quiet, not backward. A lot of bad rumors about their son, Lucas. Bad seed, apparently.
Ah, shit!
Oh, man. Thought I heard something.
Oh, I should have worn my good shoes.
I thought I heard like a weird like growling sound way off to the right.
Glad I had my shots. Although, this would make a great backdrop. Andre, what do you think? Andre?
Oh, great.
Andre! Andre! Clancy, you see where Andre went?
I did not.
Where is he?
I don't know, but you go first.
Fucking believable. This is the last time I work with that guy. I mean, producers, they come and go, but a good cameraman like you, Clancy, you stick with me.
Oh boy. Oh, is the doorknob working now? No, it's broken for them too. Okay.
What the fuck was that?
I don't know, go check it out.
Did you hear that? Andre?
Yeah, go ahead. You first.
Where the fuck is he?
Go ahead. Oh,
Andre, where are you,
just
man?
my shadow again. Okay. Oh, man. I thought I saw something. What? Oh, jeez.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Okay, go ahead. Check it out, man.
All right, new deal. We find Andre and we go. I mean, fuck this show.
Go ahead.
You first.
Great.
Need a nice hero shot of me coming down the ladder.
Okay.
So, you first. What do you see? What is it?
Stuff I don't want to see. Oh, jeez. Oh, no. Oh, jeez. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, there's a person! Good gravy. All right, great.
Jesus.
Well, guess it's our turn. Here we go to the death place. Oh, jeez. Ah, jeez.
Damn it.
All right, here we go. Charging into darkness. Bruh. Oh, I hate water in games. Ugh. Oh my gosh. Oh jeez. Oh jeez. Oh. Man, I even knew that was coming. Good grief. All right. Well, we didn't get as deep into the scares as I hoped we might, but hopefully you got a little bit out of my cringiness. See, this is why. I mean, you can imagine now, can't you? Me actually getting deep into a game that's legit scary and being there for 4 hours. That was 15 minutes. I'm going to lose my mind with 4 hours. But stay tuned. That date will be announced. Good gravy. Thank you very much. That was no, that was Ray McCann. Ray McCann. And then I'm going to put on Life Force and talk about, I think, both Audrey McCann's requested topic while I play that, and Joel's requested topic. And Joel actually donated for me to play Life Force, and even is lending me his copy of Life Force. We got together, had lunch a few weeks ago, and he lent it to me at that point, and so I am looking forward to playing this. This was, Joel and I were buddies in junior high, and this was like my favorite game of his that he had. So let me set up Life Force. DTS, did you lose the save data from your review? Yeah, at one point I deleted it because I was like, I am never going to come back to this game. Never. And sometimes I'll do that, even thinking like, even if I do, it's been long enough, I would want to start over anyway, so. All right. Well, this is actually going to be a pleasure to play. Especially since I will be using cheat codes. Let's do... I want to do Infinite Lives. I like... let's do this one. I like this one because then there's still incentive for me to try to stay alive, because when you die, you lose any cool pickups that you might have gained. And so that's enough kind of like pushback for me, but I don't like being prevented from making my way through the game. So, oops. Just going to turn down my audio in my ears just a wee bit. Oh boy. So, Audrey McCann's requested topic is, what are my favorite musicals and why? And I used to be a lot more into musicals and Broadway stuff when I was in high school, and was wondering if my life might be heading in a direction, you know, to do that, some kind of a career that would involve that, you know, because I was really passionate about acting throughout high school, but not as much anymore. I would say these days, I dislike a lot of the classic musicals because they're just too smiley for me. Like the... but those are the kinds of musicals that I found myself being in, both in school and then later as an adult. I always liked, in high school we did My Fair Lady, and I really... I auditioned, I think the character's name was Freddie, because he has that beautiful ballad, I have often walked down this street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. And I loved that song and auditioned with that. And they told me that they really liked my singing of it, but they wanted me to be Professor Higgins. And so I didn't get that part. And I had a lot of fun with Professor Higgins, but... I would say today, if I'm going to sit down... Oh, and there's a story, actually, to that song. When Holly and I were dating, we were dating long distance, and I went and visited her. She was living in Winston-Salem, North Carolina at the time. And, oh crap, I'm supposed to hurry on through that. I snuck a tux with me. Oh crap, okay, I guess I can't... I brought a tux with me for that trip and had been corresponding with a close friend of hers to help me pull this off. But she had to work for one of the days that I was there. And so her friend picked me up after I changed, drove me to her workplace. And she worked at a pharmacy. It was a CVS pharmacy. And I think we even, I think I might have connected... I can't remember if I talked to any of the employees or anything like that. I think I just did it. But I went in, got within eyeshot of her at the... where she was back in the pharmacy. You know, I was out in kind of the more grocery store section. And I just started singing, I have often walked down this aisle before, but my feet have always stayed upon the tile before. All at once am I several stories high, knowing I'm in the store where you work. And I had lyrics for the rest of it, and just went through the whole song. And gave her flowers, and she was super embarrassed, and it was great. But nowadays, if I were to sit down and watch... Oh, I forgot to set my timer here. Nowadays, if I were to sit down and watch a musical, definitely not one of the classic ones. I like Little Shop of Horrors. I grew up watching that and grew up loving that just because of the outrageous characters, and it was kind of a little bit of a horror story too, and science fiction-y and stuff. And let's see, what else? Did I have another one listed here? Oh, I liked being in Titanic. I was the worship pastor at our church for a couple of years. Before that, I worked on staff underneath the worship pastor before me, and that's Mickey Bryce, actually. He plays Isaiah in the Spirit Blade trilogy. And he had a real strength with stage musical production. And so during his time as our worship pastor, it became kind of one of our ministries at the church to put on summer Broadway musicals. And they became more and more, extravagant as the years went on, really became a big event. And oops. Oh, crap. Why is it doing that? Oh, okay, I see. There's a speed up mode that you can hit. I must have accidentally hit the right bumper. But anyway, we did, what did we do? We did Music Man, and I played the main guy in that. And then we did My Fair Lady, and I played Michael Crawford's character. Michael Crawford, who I know more as Condor Man than I do as Phantom of the Opera, even though that's certainly much more what he's famous for among his fans. But then we did Titanic, and I got to play the architect. And I just loved that because I just really dislike the saccharine, overly sweet, overly simplistic stories and characters that are mostly in a lot of those classic musicals. And so to play that character and be just broken and haunted over the fact that, and really losing, he was, in the story, he's losing his mind with grief and shock and horror because he built the Titanic and yet, and it couldn't withstand this accident. And all these lives were lost as a result. And so he was just, consumed by guilt. And so I loved playing that, doing something really with real gravity, and that is the type of musical I'm going to tend to enjoy, is one that has heaviness to it. But there's, and I also tend to like musicals as movies where they play up the strengths of filmmaking, and they don't merely try to just present the stage show recorded on film, but they really say, okay, this is a movie now. What can we do with camera work and artistic symbolism in the things that we're doing? I like musicals that really give almost a music video treatment to the style of their songs. Moulin Rouge stands out as one that I enjoyed. It used a bunch of pop songs and had a really sad ending, so that one stands out. I also really like the Greatest Showman, but I may not ever watch it again. I saw it once, watched it with my family, and it's weird sometimes with me watching musicals because there was a time in my life where I really thought I was going into acting of some kind. That changed midway through high school, but it still took me a while to let go of that possibility. Even though I realized, no, I think God wants me to be doing something else. And so when I watch musicals for years, I have this feeling of like it's the road not taken. It's a little bit of a haunting experience to watch some musicals, especially musicals I really enjoy. And The Greatest Showman, it's so interesting. I mean, there's a great moral to that story where Hugh Jackman's character is just trying to be this great showman, and that just becomes kind of an obsession of his, and he can't let it go, and it's damaging his family life, But the moral of the story, and it's a real positive ending, is him letting go of that dream and dedicating his life to his marriage and family, So it's a beautiful, and so for me, as a artistic dreamer and performer and creator and stuff, where it's so easy to get tunnel vision for what I'm creating and my work, to see that was very haunting and affirming, and it was just a good experience for my character to watch that movie. In addition to still being kind of haunting, it's like, could I have done that, if I had gone down that road, So yeah, I would say that kind of like covers what my interests are these days in terms of musicals. I mean, there's still no musicals that have been made that I'd really like to see made. I mean, like with the Spirit Blade trilogy, the special edition versions of those are pseudo musicals, and They, you know, so they, sorry, I had to make sure the timer was running here. Oh man, I remember this level. I remember these flaming birds. So cool. These graphics really hold up nicely. Man, when I started playing this game and the sound effects started up, I was just like, oh my gosh, it's all coming back. Sleepovers at Joel's house. So, good times. Thanks for the memories here, Joel. So yeah, I guess that's probably where I'm at with musicals these days. I went for something with those special editions that I would like to see done better and much more fully in an actual live production, and that is like a musical that's also like an action movie that has crazy, cool sci-fi stuff going on and visuals, and you know, it's. I still have this dream of seeing kung fu set to music. Kung fu choreography, like martial arts or other types of fight choreography set to music, so that the blows and the blocks serve as percussion for the, you know, serve as rhythm elements in the song itself that's being sung or performed or whatever. I mean, I would love, I've talked about this somewhere before, but I would love to see the Wachowskis do West Side Story and do something like that, like bring crazy action and do a version of West Side Story. You've got these gangs fighting and stuff. They could do some cool stuff with at least one of those songs that could just be, wow, we never imagined West Side Story could be this, you know. So if they need a career revival and they're watching this, you're welcome, Wachowskis. That'll do it for you, surely. Let's see, what else? It's worth mentioning, I used to be a big fan of Jesus Christ Superstar. I was just enamored with the fact that even though as twisted as it was from the biblical accounts, it was still this musical about Jesus, you know? I was really into it in like high school, and maybe early college I was still into it. But that interest faded in time. But there was a guy I knew in college that had an interesting take on that. And I was surprised that he likes Jesus Christ Superstar, because he was Mormon, and I would think that they would be even more kind of like, oh, you know, really not wanting to take in any kind of content that would be like Jesus Christ Superstar. But his take on it was really interesting, that Judas is the narrator in that story. He's, as well as a character in it, he's the main narrator. And so what he proposed was that really it's twisted because we're seeing this all through Judas's perspective. And of course his perspective would be twisted. And I was like, that is really interesting. That's really interesting. So anyway, thanks for the question, Audrey, and for both you and Ray's donation. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Man, yeah, these graphics... Well, I was going to say, man, these graphics hold up. I am using a filter that smooths out the jaggies a little bit. It would definitely be more blocky if I wasn't using that filter. Okay, so there's another question here. This one, let me actually pause the game for a second here, because I had some notes that I wanted to cover on this. Joel's question is, and this is a tough one to multitask. An answer. What is your view on DC turning Superman bisexual, and do you think it will have a significant impact on future revenue for the Superman brand? We actually talked about this on the forums at Christian Geek Central a little while ago, so you can go there and find that. There's something in the title that's about Superman, gay, woke, something like that. Anyway, you should be able to find it pretty easily under the fan zone section of the forums. And this was interesting news and a little bit surprising, but in some ways not. Not because that's just the direction that DC's going, is really kind of serving those kinds of agendas. And but it's worth noting it's not actually Superman. The character is being called Superman, but it's Lois and Clark's son, John, who's bisexual, and I think, and so for a little while in at least one of the Superman books, he is going to be the Superman that the title refers to. And so in that sense, they are making a Superman bisexual, but not Clark Kent, as far as I know. But, you know, they're surely going to have Superman and Lois approving, you know, of this. And that kind of direction is just where Superman as a character, the way he's been written, the way he's been going for a while, is more toward that liberal and naturalistic or atheistic, I don't want to say atheistic, but relativistic view. And which is really interesting because Superman has, you know, he is the virtue. He is the voice of virtue. Whatever the writers at DC think is virtuous and of the highest moral standard is what Superman is going to represent. And so he's kind of a good barometer for what DC editorial is thinking about various moral or political issues or whatever, you know. And so there is, you know, a subtle sort of preaching and teaching that they're, I think, doing by making that move. In addition to it, I'm certainly being a publicity thing and trying to ultimately get more people to read. So, oh, that sound of them exploding. Yeah, I remember that. What I think is interesting is that by making John bisexual, they really have a built-in escape hatch. Because if people react really negatively to this, or if people, you know, just lose interest and stop buying the title, you know, and they tie that pattern to this choice that they made, then they can very easily take him out of a same-sex relationship and transition him eventually to a heterosexual relationship because he's bisexual. And so I can imagine a scenario where if things go horribly wrong for them on a monetary level with this decision, they could kind of back out of that and over time just even kind of retcon and pretend that never happened or just never reference it, and after a while it's forgotten. Do I think they'll go that route? No, not unless they tie loss of sales, significant loss of sales, to that. Then I think we would just see them, maybe at the very least, de-emphasize it. You know, I don't know. But what's interesting to me now, it's very important for me to say I've not read this story, and I've not read hardly any material that involves John as a character. I have read the story that reintroduced the pre-New 52 Superman and Lois into the New 52 universe, and kind of replaced the New 52 Superman with the, you know, original quote-unquote Superman. But John was very young at that time. He was still early elementary age. And so when I heard this news, I think equally surprising to me was the time jump, where he was suddenly this mid to late years teenager. And I'm just like, dang it, really? Really? We have so many characters that are in their late teens, mid-teens, 20s, and 30s. The DC and comic books in general are dominated by those age demographics. What would be cool is to see a book that's not a kid's book, not a specific kid's line, but is part of the mainstream DC publishing that explores parents of young kids. And I just thought Superman and Lois were a great place to do that. And they're doing some really wonderful things with family relationships and family dynamics in the Lois and Superman TV series. Both of those characters at this point seem to be... Both of the sons, they have two sons, Jonathan and... Dang it, I can't remember the other one's name. But anyway, I mean, they seem to be heterosexual, but I mean, they can certainly make them bisexual. One of them could kind of quote-unquote discover that or whatever, you know, about themselves. But right now, there's no indication that they're going to do something similar with either of the sons. And I honestly think that's fine. I would be fine with them not exploring any relationships at all. I feel like America is so oversexed that having romantic or sexual relationships becomes part of people's identity. And like we start, even in the church, we can start thinking, oh, it's a sad thing that this person is single. But God calls some people to singleness. And I think that it may be a result, and that would be a life that they'd be content with. But I think our culture is so oversexed that I suspect there are some people that are exploring relationships and types of relationships because they feel like something's wrong with them if they don't feel attracted to the people that, like they don't feel heterosexual attraction, so let's, explore this. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not saying some kind of crazy broad statement like that's what's going on with everyone who's bisexual or gay or whatever. But I do just wonder if there are people that end up exploring things that they think are going to make them fulfilled and happy that actually won't, because they're wired to really not pursue romantic and sexual relationships in this life. There are people like that, and we ought not think of them as broken because they remain single, especially if they're content to remain single, Anyway, but John as a character, again, I have to preface this by saying I haven't read this iteration of the character since he's been aged up, or even much before that. But it just, from what little I have gleaned and picked up, it doesn't seem like he's very developed as a character, like who he is, his personality traits and stuff. And so aging him up so drastically just kind of makes him feel all the more like not a character, but a plot device in Lois and Clark's life. And like they don't know what to do with this character. And so maybe this is them trying to make him more than a plot device. They're just like, okay, well, who is John? Let's figure, okay, well, let's do this with him. So maybe, part of that is the reasoning for this. I don't really know, but it's just kind of a shame. I feel like even before this came up that he was not a character, he was mostly a plot device. And what little I read of him, I would have been content for a time for him to be that. But it's disappointing that as they are exploring, okay, who is John, that this potentially may be part of a core answer, that like his identity would be tied to his sexuality. And I think there's major issues with that. No matter if you're attracted to the opposite or the same sex, if you're finding your sense of identity in the sex that you're attracted to, or not attracted to, I just don't think that's where we should be looking for our identity and worth and significance and purpose in life. But that seems to be a lot of what's going on. And so I think that this decision by DC just seems to be, just another symptom of that. I don't think it's something that we should be shocked and outraged about. It does mean that as Christians, we're not going to be able to enjoy or root for John's story in the way the writers intend. But it's also a good reminder to us, if we feel like a knee-jerk reaction of anger, that we are not entitled to enjoy entertainment made by non-Christians in this world. We should really just view it as a glass half full when we are able to. When we're able to enjoy anything in this life, because this world is broken, and so we shouldn't expect that or feel entitled to it. But yeah, I'm certainly going to, at some point, as I'm catching up to where DC is currently at in their publishing, at some point I'm going to check out that story and see what I think of it, and we'll continue reading it based purely on am I enjoying the story. That could be an element that takes me out of it and just kind of bums me out and reminds me of just kind of where we're at in the world today. And so for that reason, if I'm taken out of it enough, I would drop it, not out of anger, or whatever in a huff, but just kind of like, it's not what I really want to read. But we'll see. There have been characters where they don't hammer that point a lot, and they still are telling stories of characters that are fleshed out in other ways that I find interesting and I can relate to and I can care about. So we'll just see whether or not it does damage or has any effects on the brand in the future. I don't know. I think people will react certainly to this story. I think that those that are on the conservative side of these issues will react not just to Jonathan's character, but they'll react to how Clark and Lois, Clark in particular, interact with this issue. Because as I said, Superman is and has been for a long time kind of like the the representative of the highest virtues, according to DC editorial. That's how he tends to be written. And so I think people that are used to seeing him that way and expecting him and understanding him to be that kind of character will be frustrated, or in some way, the people that on the conservative side of this issue are going to be frustrated with that and might make a stink. I think as believers, we can absolutely make our views on this known, but what I try to do is not make a stink while I do that, but just kind of talk it through and just try to represent truth and love, which is really, really hard. So thank you for that question, Joel. Tough one to answer, and gosh, here I'm talking about it on YouTube, not giving my full attention to it. I probably said something that someone on YouTube is going to get angry about, which is not my intent. But if anybody wants to have a deeper conversation where I can give my full attention to it, that's one of those topics. It's like I really want to properly treat this and respect this topic. I really want to give it my full attention. So if anybody watching this archived later or during the live stream or whatever takes issue or has concern or frustration or anger about something I've said, please get in touch with me. I'd love to talk to you and give my full attention to that. PAETER@spiritblade.com. But again, thank you, Joel, very much for your donation. Thank you for the great question. Let's move on to Batman on the NES. And thanks again, Joel, for lending me Life Force. I will not hold on to this, I promise, as long as I held on to those Atari games of yours, which was like freaking 10 years or whatever. So we'll have to schedule a lunch or something, or I can just swing by your place and drop these off sometime before Christmas. Let's make that happen. All right. Good times with the Life Force. I am going to... My wife might not be watching. I'm going to update her real quick that we're running behind schedule, because she was originally going to come in at 11. It's looking more like 11:15. Okay. Now, there was an Extra Life marathon 2-3 years ago. It was before I was putting the entire unedited live stream up hour chunks at a time, and instead I was editing down kind of like highlights. But there was a marathon that I did a few years ago where I played through this whole... It was the first game I played. I played through it beginning to end. I had a great time with this. This is one of my favorite NES games, and this is at the request of Nathan Drake himself, who also asks, who's the better Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, or Tom Holland? All right, so let's start the timer here. That's a tough one. Those movies are so different, you know, and when you say who's the better Spider-Man, the way I want to answer that is with the understanding that I'm not just talking about the actor. I'm talking about the performance that they gave that was based on the direction and overall feel of the movie and the writing. Because I think Tobey Maguire would have been a very different Spider-Man if he would have had the director and script of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, you know? So they're going for different things. So it really is a lot of apples and oranges. And something that I have, in recent years, come to appreciate and roll with is the fact that... crap, I need some cheat codes. Is the fact that each of these movies that are made based on superheroes that have been around for decades, they're going to try and pull from... more than others, a particular take on Spider-Man. Or whatever superhero it is. Let's see. I think there was an infinite health code that I like using so that you still get knocked around. There it is. Let's just do that. Let's see. Yeah, infinite health. What I would probably rank them as Tobey Maguire. I mean, I'd probably rank them if I had to. I would rank them Tobey Maguire at 3, Andrew Garfield at 2, and Tom Holland at 1. But that's... Tobey Maguire's pretty easy to put number 3. The other two is really hard, because I really liked the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. Because they went for something heavier and serious. And there were people at the time that were saying, oh, this doesn't feel like Spider-Man. I was like, well, hold on now. Which Spider-Man stories are you talking about? Because there are some heavy Spider-Man stories where, like, his life is just going down the crapper and he's in a dark place, you know? And so I think that the Andrew Garfield movies very faithfully represented what has been a take at times on Spider-Man. But I think when movies come, because they are so less frequent than comic book stories, when you get a version of Superman or Spider-Man, it's like that's the version you're going to be stuck with, quote unquote, for the next 10 years if this franchise plays out and is successful. And I think maybe that's partly what some people are rebelling against. They're like, I don't want this take on Spider-Man. You know, maybe if you cornered them and said, well, look at the comics, then they would acknowledge, okay, yes, you're right. But that's not what I want, you know. And so I've come to appreciate, even in superhero stories that I have very strong feelings about the characters, as long as I feel like they're pulling from a take on the character from the comics, or they are iterating on a take from the comics in some interesting way, I'm more and more open to it. One example would be the suddenly I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who played Lex Luthor in Batman vs Superman in Justice League. That really had to grow on me, and it would still not be my pick, but I think that it is an appropriate iteration on Lex Luthor's character, you know, making him into this kind of the tech billionaire of today, which is going to be more of a social media type of millennial kind of guy, you know. And so I thought it was an interesting take, and he certainly was easy to hate. But yeah, I think that I really like both Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland's versions a lot. I would say that Tom Holland's version, if there's a reason that I would put it at number 1, it would be because it's the most well-rounded. It represents the quirky, jokey side of Spider-Man well, and that joking is born out of insecurity at times. All of his quirkiness and jokes, unlike so many other wisecracking Marvel movie characters, his jokes are born out of who he is as a character. I felt the same way about Iron Man, that his wisecracking was very often to release tension that we could tell he was feeling, as opposed to Hawkeye and Falcon bantering back and forth, and it felt like they weren't tense at all. They weren't compensating for feeling stressed in the moment. Whereas Iron Man very often would say things that were funny, and you could tell he was stressed at the same time. He was compensating, you know. Oops. So, but Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man, the way he was written, incorporates both the jokey, funny elements and then also the heavier thing, the emotional beats, you know? So that would be my take. That would be my pick on that. Great question, though. Great question. What do you guys think? Anybody in the chat have any, just like you can explain your reasoning, or you can just put out there, Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, what's his dude? What's his name? What's his name? I wrote it down here. Tobey Maguire. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Okay. Oh, I have sub-weapons, don't I? Ugh. Oh, I just need to punch him. It's interesting, this is such a celebrated game, and it borrows so much from the Ninja Gaiden games of this era. Just come on down here, punk. Come get me. Are you just gonna... Did I even get one punch into him? I don't even know if I did. There we go. There's even like some boss patterns that are reminiscent of the Ninja Gaiden games. But this is a celebrated game, even despite those similarities. And I think that's a better place to go, at least in this era, if you're going to not have as much time and energy to create something brand new like they did with Arkham Asylum and really innovate. Then take a formula that works and put your skin on it. I really enjoyed the Green Lantern Rise of the Manhunters video game that came out for Xbox 360, and it was totally a God of War clone. But it works really well. If you're going to choose a mechanical framework for a Green Lantern action video game, that's a great one. And the hotkeyed Green Lantern energy constructs that he could create, really cool. It was a great system. It was probably about as good a system as you could get for an action RPG style game that's about Green Lantern. So the fact that this one borrows so heavily... I thought he was going to knock me off for sure. Borrows so heavily from the Ninja Gaiden games doesn't bother me at all. Balmy Leader asks if I like Call of Duty. I know you played Advanced Warfare, but do you like other games? I tried a little bit of Advanced Warfare. I actually, when I do my Get Good live stream, it's a possibility that I will play some of the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare because I'm stuck in a part of that game where I'm flying over a church in a helicopter and like trying to do something and keep people from dying, and I keep failing that mission over and over again. But up until that point, I was really enjoying the type of gameplay that was. That would be my thoughts on Call of Duty, is that I like some of what they offer, at least in that one. Haven't really explored any of the other ones. I've got access to them right now through PlayStation Plus, but I might be ending my subscription to PlayStation Plus at the end of this month. It just depends on me and my buddy Mark, and if we have a chance that we'll be using that this year. We switched over to a game that doesn't require PlayStation Plus, as we play together online now and then. So, anyway. So did I answer that question I did, about the Spider-Man. Well, let me get a head start on, well, first off, let me say again, thank you, Nathan Drake, for the question. Thank you for the video game recommendation, and most of all for the donation that triggered those things. Thank you very much. I got a few more minutes left in this game, but I'll get a head start actually on Justin Meyer's question. I'm going to be playing Dragon Quest Builders 2 for him in a minute here. But he says, if you had your druthers and could make any game you wanted, what game would you make, ignoring hardware limitations we currently have? I would make... I answered this question, I think, on last year's Extra Life, or some other... last year's Marathon. And I was talking more about, like, realistically, if I were to make a game, what kind I would make. And I would make a turn-based dungeon crawl. But when you take away, like, limitations and stuff, I would make... I would hire a team under me that knows what they're doing, because I wouldn't. And I would just be the idea man in charge. I'd say, okay, guys, at Ubisoft, you're making an open world DC Universe game, third person, like open city, like Saints Row type environment. You're mostly in a big city, but it's single player. It's not DC Universe Online, and it has combat that's going to be more like. Actually, I would probably give it to the team, if I could, that made Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, because the combat in that is fantastic. So if you take that kind of combat and just turn all those spells and special attacks into superpowers appropriate to the individual hero, you could have this great open world, single player DC Universe game That's what I would want. Oops, I gotta use a sub-weapon for this guy. Or I would do a first-person D&D game in a Skyrim-like engine. So, like, in a D&D world, like either the Dragonlance world or the Forgotten Realms, but with the Skyrim engine. I mean, I really just want more. I want more stuff like Skyrim, but Bethesda is like frickin' taking their sweet time, and so I would make this game just to play it myself. That's how both of these games would be. You know, if I enter into the realism of this fantasy for a moment, I would also take the opportunity to try and bring in a subtle way, not in a preachy way, but in a subtle way, some of my worldview as a believer into those stories. I think there's things that could be said about truth, and the pursuit of truth, and that could be really poignant and stand out from what is typically being said in game narratives and entertainment narratives today. I don't have the presence of mind to be more specific than that, but I would certainly enjoy the opportunity to say something about some social issues today. Not political issues, but social issues that are heavily tied to not morality necessarily, but like the existence of God, you know. But yeah, that's kind of where my mind goes with that question. I enjoyed thinking about that beforehand and kind of jotting down some thoughts. So because you guys asked great questions. I made notes in advance for all these questions because I was like, these are such great questions, and I'm not going to be able to say anything intelligent if I don't think beforehand and jot down just a couple notes. So, thank you, Nathan Drake, for the question, and all of you guys for your great questions. This is not far from where, like, the furthest I could get in this game without using cheat codes. I'm trying to think if it was this boss, or if I did get past this boss without cheat codes at some point. But man, once I had that Game Genie and had the codes to get me through this game, that's really when it became one of my favorite video games on the NES. I was like, dude, I suck, and so I don't feel like Batman. And I can't get good. But now these codes let me feel like Batman. Right? I mean, Batman, in any case, he's not awesome and successful at what he does because he trains, and because he's brilliant, and because he gets good. Do you know why Batman succeeds in his stories? Because the writers want him to. That's how he does it. That's how he does it. There are so many times he gets lucky. Yes, of course he's spent time getting good, but that's not how he's made it to where he's at. Let's see here. Which button do I? Oh, crap. Okay, well, I will not have to do this boss fight, I guess. But thank you again, Nathan Drake, for your donation and for requesting a game. I got 2 game requests that were just a joy to play this morning. Thank you very much for that. All right, so now let's fire up some Dragon Quest Builders 2 for Justin Myers. Give me a second here. Oh crap! I forgot to change the title, everybody. Sorry, it's been saying Life Force this whole time. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. We've got a ton going on here at Spirit Blade Productions and Christian Geek Central, including our in-depth Bible study for geeks, movie, game, and other entertainment reviews or commentary, live streams, Christian geek news, original audio dramas, and tons more. And on top of all that, you can become a Spirit Blade insider with an influential voice and get access to exclusive content and rewards. It's your involvement as a patron that will keep all of this going and growing, so I want to thank you for your consideration in that. For more information, please check out our Patreon page through the link below at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Thanks for listening.